So this is part 2, continuation of Rosy boa versus Kenyan boas. I already discussed cost, husbandry, and size, temperaments for these snakes. So I'm going to show you my Rosy boa pretzel. She is a Dozora locality. Let's see if I can take this hide off. Oops, she has a very good feeding response, and she will try to eat my hand. Let's see if I can, my camera will just calm down. Here we go. So in summary, both snakes are pretty similar in many ways. Differences are very minor. One major difference is, and I tell people this if they really can't decide which one to pick, would be, do you want to see your snake? If you want a snake where that's a little more active, and especially if you bought a beautiful morph, you want to be able to see it, Rosy boas would be a better suited choice. Kenyan boas, as you can tell over here, this is my other Kenyan boa, my female Kenyan boa girlfriend. She is somewhere in here. She is my albino paradox female, and she's nowhere to be found. This is typical. This is what you'll see in Kenyan boas enclosures most of the time. Feeding nights, they may come out. Feeding nights or the night before. But usually this is what you see, an empty tank. They like to burrow. They like to stay hidden. They're a little bit more shy than a Rosy boa. And you can see my Rosy boa really don't care so much. She really wants to eat, even when she's flipped upside down. The only, I guess, both are not perfect. I do wish that Rosy boas have a more available and affordable morphs around. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Also, when it comes to breeding, Rosy boas usually require brumation period. So if you live in the area where warm temperatures is consistent throughout the year, you cannot drop the temperature of the enclosure lower to 50 or so for several months straight. Where brumation is not possible for Rosies, then brumation can be a little bit of a challenge. Kenyan boas can breed without brumation. You put a male, female, and they're ready to go. They don't need to be brumate. You can if you want to. It may help, but they breed very well, and they have large litters. Lots of babies. Rosies, not so much. A little bit less than a Kenyan boas in terms of babies. All right, buddy. You're not gonna eat. You're not gonna come out either. So depends on your goals. If you plan to breed, but you live in an area where brumation can be difficult, then maybe Rosies would not be for you. And lastly, due to the high supply that's currently in the market of Kenyan boas and a lack thereof for Rosies, and also due to the lack of interest in Rosies, between the two, I would say popularity leans toward the Kenyan boas. They just have prettier colors, more variations than you would find in the Rosies. That could explain why the boom happened, and now everybody's breeding them. They're easy to breed, they're plenty of colors, and they are very affordable. Rosies are like a little bit of the opposite. They're more for people who are Rosy fans. If you're a rubber boa fan, but you can't keep a rubber boa for any reason, like I am, you can keep the Rosy boa. Rosy boa is a good alternative to the rubber boa. They're very similar in many ways. They are cousins. The only difference is really in the face. The Rosies have a longer snout, and of course the colors and the tail. Otherwise, they have a similar temperament. And also, Rosies eat better. Rosies eat a lot better than rubber boas. So again, it depends on your budget. Depends on what you're planning to do with your snakes. If you're going to breed it, keep it as a pet. Do you want to show it off? If you want to show it off, Rosies would be a better choice because they come out of their burrows. Kenyan sand boa would be hidden all the time. All the time. You can pay $600 for a Kenyan sand boa and you never see it. You never really see it. So another choice is the rubber boa that I just mentioned. The third choice. I don't keep rubber boas. I wish I could. It's just a little complicated to talk about them because the lack of interest didn't fuel the demand. Also, some states have now banned the keeping of rubber boas, especially if they're native to that state, so you're not even allowed to keep them. Another reason is because breeding them can be a challenge. They need to be brumated just like the Rosy boas, and the babies don't eat for months. I mean, it is actually common to find a rubber boa, even a baby rubber boa, not eating close to 4 months. Its first meal, like not eating at all. It would skip a whole winter of not eating anything. Some of them may need to be forced to be brumated before they're willing to take prey. And the way they eat is also a little bit peculiar. Some breeders are able to get the rubber boa to eat by mimicking a nest. So you have to find a way to build a nest, put a bunch of live pinkies in there, and hope that your rubber boa takes the food. Rosies, you won't have that kind of complications and problems like a rubber boa does. That's why Rosies will be more popular than rubber boas, just simply because they're easier to keep. Rubber boas are great if you manage to get one. Not wild caught. There are some very, very few, maybe a handful of breeders in this country that breed rubber boas. There's a huge waiting list if you're trying to get one. They can be pretty expensive when there's one available. Sometimes there's none available. Sometimes the breeders just don't have any available for sale, or they have holdbacks due to the lack of captive bred specimens available in the industry as it is. Most are wild caught. So it can be a difficult challenge. You're gonna have to look at Facebook groups for a particular rubber boa, a dedicated rubber boa breeder. Many of them just kind of give up because they're just so difficult and that there's not a high demand for them. People just don't want a snake that doesn't eat. You know, they don't want to keep a baby snake for 4 months until it eats. They need to get rid of it. They need to sell it. So most people just move on to other projects. Those who stayed and remain breeding these rubber boas are dedicated breeders, and at the same time, you would also be waiting for a litter available a year if there's any. Overall, I don't recommend the rubber boa for that reason. Number one. Number two, get the Kenyan sand boa if you don't really care about seeing it. You just want, if you're the type of person who just wants to see it when it decides to come out on its own, or you can pick it up maybe once or twice a week. They're good pets, but if you want something a little bit more active, then here you go. There's the Rosy boa, just like Pretzel, who's trying to slowly sneak her way out to get food, but there is no food. Feeding day is in 2 days. But she doesn't know that. Anyways, thank you for watching. I hope this has been useful.